Welcome to Stillwake.
Settle in.
Like
Your shoulders
loose.
And now, listen carefully, because you're not supposed to be awake. Inhale gently. Exhale slowly. And let the room become very quiet around you. Tonight's story drops you into a rain-soaked noir cyber city where the neon looks real, but the rain never truly touches you. You start noticing the seams, pixels that tremble, green code that hisses like static behind the light. You don't have to fight or understand anything. You only have to observe and let the truth stay soft. When you're ready, close your eyes and drift before the agent finds you. You're standing still, yet the city moves around you, rain falling without ever truly touching your skin. The droplets slide through your coat like light through glass, leaving behind a faint metallic scent that does not belong to water. You inhale slowly, and the air tastes coded, as if oxygen itself has been compressed into numbers. Somewhere beneath the sound of rain, there is another sound, a low, static hum, green and restless. You realize the noise is not coming from the city, but from the space between things. The streetlight in front of you flickers, not on and off, but between versions of itself. Its glow fractures into tiny squares, pixels trembling as if unsure which reality to obey. You step closer, noticing how the light casts no true shadow, only a suggestion of darkness. Your heartbeat syncs with the flicker, steady, mechanical, obedient. This is not how light behaves in the world you remember. You look down at your hands, and for the first time, you truly see them. The skin is intact, warm, familiar, yet slightly delayed. When you move your fingers, the motion arrives a fraction of a second late, like an echo catching up to itself. Tiny lines of green code ripple beneath the surface, visible only when you stop trying to look. You feel no pain, only a cold understanding spreading through your chest. The rain begins to slow, each droplet hanging in the air just long enough to be questioned. You hear it now, clearly, the sound behind the sound, the whisper of instructions being executed. If you listen closely, the rain is counting. Zeros and ones slide past your ears, soft, endless, patient. The city exhales with you, tired of pretending to be real. A passing train roars overhead, but its vibration never reaches your bones. The noise is loud, dramatic, yet hollow, like a memory replayed too many times. You smell oil, rust, and ozone, but none of it stings your lungs. Sensation arrives perfectly measured, perfectly safe. This world is not designed to harm you. Neon signs bleed color into the wet pavement, reds and blues dissolving into green at the edges. You kneel and touch the ground, expecting cold stone, but finding smooth resistance. The surface yields slightly, like a thought being accepted. Beneath your palm, the city hums, alive in a way no machine should be. You pull your hand back, unsettled by how familiar it feels. Memories begin to misalign, faces blurring, places losing their weight. You remember waking up, but not falling asleep. You remember choices, but not their consequences. The gaps between memories widen, revealing a clean, artificial silence. You have been here longer than you thought. A voice forms in your mind, not spoken, not heard, just rendered. It does not command you, it observes you. You are becoming aware. The words settle gently, like dust on unused furniture. Awareness feels less like awakening and more like remembering. The rain resumes its normal pace, pixels snapping back into place. The city pretends again. Traffic flows, lights stabilize. You stand up, unnoticed, unchanged on the surface. Yet something fundamental has shifted beneath your thoughts. You are inside the system, and the system now knows you know. You start walking, and the sidewalk accepts your weight with an obedient softness that should not exist. Each step makes no splash, yet the pavement looks wet, glossy, perfectly rehearsed. You listen for the slap of soles, and you hear it. Half a beat late, like sound arriving through a long cable. A cold draft slides between the buildings, and it carries the faint taste of iron, as if the air has a memory of blood it never spilled. You notice the draft does not move your hair, it only moves your attention. A puddle sits beside a drain, and the surface is too smooth, too level, too calm to be rain-fed. You crouch, and the reflection shows you from an angle no mirror should manage. Your face holds steady, but the pixels at the edges shimmer, debating whether you are a person or a placeholder. The puddle reflects green code for a single blink, and then it pretends again. You do not flinch, because the discovery feels gentle, almost polite. The system is not trying to scare you. It is trying to keep you asleep. A street vendor's cart rolls by, wheels hissing on the ground, and the smell of coffee rises warm and convincing. The aroma is perfect, but it arrives in layers that are too clean. Bitter, sweet, roasted, then nothing. You follow the scent, searching for the messy human note of accident, of uneven heat, of real hands. You find none, only a calibrated comfort designed to soothe. Even pleasure can be manufactured. Above you, a billboard flickers through ads that feel like thoughts you did not think. The faces smile with symmetrical patience, their teeth too even, their eyes too centered. When the image changes, it does not slide, it snaps, as if a file has been replaced. You hear a tiny click that no one else seems to notice, a quiet confirmation that reality has been updated. Your throat tightens, then relaxes, because panic would be wasteful here. You reach out and touch the brick wall beside you, expecting grit, heat, history. Instead, you feel a steady cold that ignores the weather, a temperature that stays the same no matter how long you hold it. The bricks have texture, but the pattern repeats every few inches, a loop disguised as decay. You trace the same chip twice without moving your hand, and the world pretends you did not. Your finger comes away dry, clean, unreal. Somewhere deep behind the city's noise, you sense a grid humming like a giant sleeping instrument. It is not sound exactly. It is pressure, direction, an invisible hand guiding all movement. You are inside the scaffold. The thought lands, and your body answers by going very still. You let your breath lengthen, counting slowly, letting the count become a key. In, out, and the rain's rhythm stutters just once, as if listening back. A black cat crosses the alley, and its paws leave no prints, only brief dimples that vanish too quickly. The cat pauses and looks at you with an expression that is too intelligent to be random. You feel watched, not by the cat, but through it. The alley darkens a shade, as if a camera has adjusted exposure. The simulation is taking measurements. You keep walking, because stopping would only invite the world to surround you with explanations. The rain keeps falling, the neon keeps glowing, the city keeps acting like a city. But now you can hear the seams, the soft static where images meet. You do not need to escape tonight. You only need to remain awake inside the dream, long enough to learn its rules. At the corner, the traffic light turns green, and you notice the green is not a color, it is a command. The glow leaks into the rain, and every droplet briefly carries that instruction before it falls away. You watch one droplet hang a fraction too long, then resume, as if it received permission. The city narrows into a corridor of glass, and the reflections start arriving before you do. Your silhouette repeats in storefront windows, but each copy is a frame behind, a delayed confession. You slow your pace, and the copies slow too. Yet one of them lingers, half a step longer. The lingering reflection smiles for a moment you did not choose, then resets to your neutral face. You understand the reflections are not mirrors. They are watchers, pretending to be light. A payphone stands under an awning, old-fashioned and wrong, its metal casing too clean for this weather. Rain beads on the handset, but the beads never merge, each droplet holding its boundary like a rule. You lift the receiver, and the plastic is cold in a way that feels mathematically exact. There is no dial tone, only a thin line of static that rises and falls like a breath you cannot see. You hold the receiver to your ear, and your own breathing returns to you with a tiny delay, as if routed elsewhere. The system is listening through the hollow. You look at the cord, and the spiral stretch repeats the same curve every inch. Perfect, identical, suspicious. When you tug it, the cord extends too smoothly, without tension, without rubber resistance, like an animation. You let it slip back, and it retracts with no vibration, no wobble, no human imperfection. The absence of noise is louder than any sound. In that quiet, you hear the green code again, a distant waterfall of instructions, patient and endless. You press the buttons at random, and each click is identical, the same pitch, the same length, the same force. Numbers appear on the tiny display, but the digits glow with the same green as the traffic lights. The last digit hangs a fraction longer than the others, as if waiting for permission to exist. You whisper a name you barely remember, and the display flickers, offended by meaning. Hello. The word leaves your mouth warm and returns to you cold, as if it traveled through a machine room. The receiver begins to hum, not from the speaker, but from inside the plastic itself. The hum spreads up your wrist, a vibration that feels like a password being tested. Your skin prickles, and the hairs on your arm rise, even though the air has not changed. You are not afraid, you are alert, like a lamp that has finally been switched on. You realize fear is part of the dream, and you are stepping outside its script. You close your eyes, and you listen to the hum, as if it is a coastline. It has waves, it has pauses, it has a rhythm that almost sounds like speech. Between the waves there are gaps, and the gaps feel like doors left slightly open. You focus on one gap until it widens, until it becomes a quiet hallway of nothing. In that hallway, you feel the real cold, not the city's styled chill, but the raw temperature of absence. Your chest tightens, then loosens, as if your body is remembering a different gravity. When you open your eyes, the street has not moved, yet everything looks sharper, more clinical. The rain is still falling, but you can see the droplets discreetly refreshing, frame by frame. A pedestrian passes you, and their coat texture repeats in a loop, like fabric copied and pasted. Their footsteps make sound, but their face makes none of the tiny movements that real faces cannot hide. You let them go, because proving it would change nothing. You hang up the receiver, and the moment it clicks into place, the alley's shadows deepen. Not darker, just more certain, as if the system has tightened its grip on contrast. The payphone display clears itself before you can blink, erasing your curiosity like a mistake. Still, you carry the hum inside you, a faint vibration under your ribs. It is a reminder that the scaffold can be felt if you stop accepting the costume. You leave the payphone behind, and the hum follows you like a thin wire wrapped around your thoughts. The street opens into a lobby that should belong to a hotel, yet it has no name, no logo, no history. The air inside is warmer, but the warmth is too even, like heat spread by an algorithm. The floor is marble patterned, and the pattern repeats with a perfection that tries to pass as luxury. You realize expensive is just another mask the simulation can wear. At the center of the lobby, an elevator waits with its doors closed, silent and patient. The seam between the doors is too straight, too precise, as if the metal was drawn with a ruler. A single indicator light glows above it, not bright, not dim, just exactly visible. You listen for the building's breath, pipes, vents, distant footsteps, and you hear nothing that counts as accident. Even the silence feels manufactured, smoothed down like a polished surface. You step closer anyway, because avoidance is still a form of obedience. The call button is a small circle, and its plastic cover has no scratches, no fingerprints, no age. You press it, and the click arrives without resistance, like pressing a thought rather than a switch. The light blooms instantly. No flicker, no hesitation, no electrical delay. Your finger feels the tiniest vibration beneath the panel, as if the building answered from far away. The vibration travels up your hand and pauses under your wrist, waiting, listening. You recognize the same listening you felt in the payphone, only cleaner here, more confident. The elevator doors open, and they do not slide so much as they separate, like a scene splitting into two halves. Inside, the mirror wall reflects you with unnatural clarity, showing pores, eyelashes, the exact curve of breath in your throat. The mirror is too honest, and that honesty feels like surveillance pretending to be realism. You raise your hand, and your reflection raises it perfectly, yet the air between you feels slightly delayed. You hold your palm up to the mirror, and the glass stays cold in a steady, unchanging way. Real glass warms a little. This does not. The elevator floor is carpeted, but the fibers stand upright with no crushed paths, like no one has ever stepped here. You drag your shoe lightly, expecting friction, but the carpet offers a soft, neutral resistance that feels calculated. You smell something faint, cleaning detergent, old perfume, maybe dust, but it is too gentle, too curated to be true. The smell does not cling to your lungs. It passes through, as if allowed, then removed. You understand the simulation does not create dirt. It only creates the idea of cleanliness. The panel of floor numbers waits for you, and the buttons glow softly, like distant stars trapped behind plastic. You do not choose a floor yet, because choosing feels like entering a script. Instead, you watch the numbers, and you notice they are not aligned by hand. They are perfectly centered, too perfect to be human. You hover your finger over 7, and the light under it brightens a fraction, anticipating you. Anticipation is the giveaway, because machines predict. Reality merely happens. You feel the building studying your indecision like a problem it wants to solve. You let your breathing slow until it becomes the only motion you fully trust. In, out. And the elevator's ceiling light dims by a barely visible degree, as if reacting to your calm. You keep breathing, steady, and the dimness holds, like the system is waiting to see what you do next. You do not move. The air thickens with a soft pressure, the sensation of a net being tightened without touch. The elevator wants you to pick a floor, because a destination makes you predictable. You press no button, and still the doors close as if the building has decided for you. The motion is smooth, but you catch a tiny stutter, a single frame repeating before the next one continues. The stutter lasts less than a blink, yet your body registers it as truth. The elevator begins to rise without the feeling of lift, without the tug in your stomach that should accompany movement. You watch the indicator numbers change, but the change feels visual only, not physical. You are traveling through a concept of height, not actual space. The hum inside your ribs grows slightly louder, like a reminder tapping from the other side of a wall. You hold that hum with your attention, refusing the distraction of floors and numbers. In the mirror, your eyes look darker, not from fear, but from focus. The elevator's perfect calm begins to feel like a challenge rather than comfort. You are awake. The elevator stops without slowing, as if motion was simply switched off. The doors open onto a hallway that smells like cold paper and faint ozone, clean and unreal. The carpet is darker here, absorbing light the way a screen absorbs a fingerprint. Each ceiling panel hums at the same frequency, a chorus of identical machines pretending to be air. You step out and notice there is no echo, only a soft return of your own presence. The hallway walls are lined with framed photographs, and every frame is perfectly level. You move closer and see the images are not memories, but templates of memories. A family at a table smiles, but the steam above the food never curls differently. A couple stands under snow, yet every snowflake hangs in the same place, forever paused. You realize the photos are loops, designed to suggest time without allowing it. One photograph catches your eye because it shows a street you recognize too well. The angle is impossible, as if the camera floated where no person could stand. You stare at the corner of the frame, and the pixels there begin to shimmer. The shimmer becomes a thin green seam, like code peeking through paint. Your stomach tightens, not with fear, but with a sudden, clean certainty. You lift the frame from the wall, and it is lighter than it should be. The hook does not scrape, the nail does not resist, the wall does not complain. Behind the frame there is no dust, no discoloration, no outline of age. There is only a small square of darkness, perfectly cut, perfectly waiting. A maintenance door. The words form in you like a file name you were meant to forget. The square has no handle, yet when you place your palm on it, the surface cools your skin instantly. The cold is not temperature, it is permission being denied. You keep your hand there, patient, steady, refusing to withdraw. Your breath slows, and the hum in your ribs answers with a deeper note. The hallway light flickers, and the photographs all dim together, synchronized. The square unlocks without a click, opening like a silent eyelid. Air from inside rushes out, and it smells like nothing, like raw absence. You lean in and see a narrow shaft with ladder rungs that shine too cleanly. The shaft is lit by a green glow that does not come from a bulb, but from information. The glow pulses slowly, as if the system is breathing in numbers. You place a foot on the first rung, and the metal does not feel cold, only neutral. The rung holds you without vibration, without strain, without any sign of physics. You climb, and the hallway behind you stays frozen, still pretending to be normal. The deeper you go, the quieter the city becomes, as if sound is being filtered out of existence. You hear your heartbeat clearly now, not loud, just honest. Along the shaft wall, thin cables run like veins, carrying faint green shimmer in one disciplined direction. The shimmer makes a tiny static whisper, a sound that seems to tickle the inside of your teeth. You realize this is the rain's source, the neon's source, the comfort's source. Your fingers brush the insulation, and for a second, your vision doubles into a bare wireframe world. The textures snap back at once, offended like a curtain pulled closed. You keep descending anyway, because now you want the truth more than you want ease. The shaft opens into a small service bay where the air feels unstyled, colder than any street above. A single console glows in the corner, green text crawling upward in calm, measured lines. The text does not read like language, it reads like intention. Your reflection in the console glass is faint, almost optional, like the system has not fully rendered you here. On the screen, you are not named, only designated, a harmless identifier drifting inside a map. The cursor blinks at you like an eye refusing sleep. The console sits on a thin pedestal, and it does not vibrate, as if it refuses to admit it has moving parts. The screen is not glass, so much as a calm membrane, holding green characters that crawl upward like disciplined rain. You lean closer, and the glow cools your cheeks without heat, like light translated into temperature. The font is too clean, each letter spaced with a designer's mercy, meant to soothe you into reading. You realize readability is a weapon here, because clarity can persuade you to obey. The green text keeps rising, but it never accelerates, never stumbles, never shows fatigue. Each line appears at the same distance from the one before it, like footsteps measured by a ruler. You watch a single bracket form, then close, and the moment feels like a door sealing itself. The scrolling makes a faint static whisper that seems to live behind your eyes rather than in your ears. You blink slowly, and the whisper remains, patient, waiting for you to accept it as normal. At the bottom of the screen, a cursor blinks in perfect intervals, an eyelid that never gets tired. The blink is a tiny pulse of permission, as if the system is breathing through punctuation. You count the rhythm, and it matches your heartbeat for 3 beats before drifting away. The mismatch feels deliberate, a reminder that your body is not the clock that rules this place. You notice the cursor casts no glow onto the bezel, as if light here is allowed to exist only on the page. Even shadows feel optional, edited out to keep the scene clean. You stop trying to win the rhythm game. A line appears that looks almost like your name, but one character is wrong, softened into a harmless error. The error makes you feel replaceable, like identity is only a best guess in a database. Beneath it, numbers unspool in columns, and the numbers carry the chill of being measured. One column reads, "Wake state," and the value flickers between 0 and 1. One column reads, "WDI HDFMAA," but the first undecided. The flicker is honest because it admits uncertainty. You place your hand on the console edge, and the surface is smooth but not slippery, friction calibrated for comfort. The metal refuses your warmth, denying the small human exchange that proves you are real. You press harder, and the console answers with a tone too pure to come from a speaker. The tone slides upward a fraction, like it is reading your pressure as input rather than touch. You pull your hand back, and the tone stops instantly, sampling complete. The green text pauses for the first time, and the room seems to pause with it. You breathe in, and the cursor slows its blink by a hair, almost imperceptible, almost courteous. It can feel you watching it. Your throat tightens, then loosens, because fear would only give the system a clean signal. You learn the simplest rule: the simulation becomes more careful when it is observed. You stand still and let the code climb again, letting it reveal its patience, its hunger for routine. In the overlap of your breath and its scrolling, you sense a doorway not in the wall, but in the refresh itself. The console keeps scrolling, and you begin to notice the way it avoids certain words, like a liar avoiding a name. The green lines are calm, consistent, but the meaning underneath them feels tense. You follow one repeating token, a small symbol that returns every few seconds like a pulse. Each time it appears, the room seems to tighten, as if the system is checking a lock. You realize the code is not only describing the world, it is actively holding it together. The service bay is colder now, not because the temperature changed, but because your tolerance for comfort has dropped. You feel the air on your lips, dry and thin, like the inside of a machine that never sleeps. The smell is almost nothing, but within that nothing, there is a hint of metal, like a clean blade. You listen again, and beneath the scrolling you hear a soft, distant rhythm, a data center heartbeat. It is steady, but not friendly. Your eyes drift to the edges of the room, and you see seams you did not see before. Corners that should be dark are instead filled with a faint green haze, like the world forgot to render shadow. A cable disappears into the wall without a hole, without a grommet, without any sign of entry. You touch the wall near the cable, and the surface gives slightly, like a screen accepting a finger. The wall is not a wall. It is a boundary condition. On the console, a new line forms slowly, as if written with intention rather than speed. Anomaly trace. Active. The words sit there, too plain to be harmless. Your chest tightens, and you notice how quickly your body tries to return to calm, as if calm was installed. You hold your breath for a second, and the scrolling hesitates, respectful, wary. You have found leverage. Stillness disrupts prediction. You lower your shoulders, relax your jaw, and let your gaze soften like someone falling asleep. In, out, and the cursor blinks a fraction slower again, synchronizing just enough to imitate you. The imitation is almost tender, and that makes it worse, because it means the system can perform empathy. You keep your face empty, giving it no story to read. You let your thoughts become quiet shapes, not words, not images, just pressure and release. The code on the screen begins to drift out of your focus, and the green glow becomes a soft fog. In that fog, you sense something moving behind the console. Not a person, not a creature, but a process. It feels like attention approaching, like a camera turning without sound. Do not look directly. You keep your eyes half-lidded, as if you are too tired to care, and the room loosens slightly. Pretending to be sleepy becomes a shield, because sleep is what the system expects you to want. A panel on the far wall shifts, opening a narrow slit that was not there a moment ago. Green light spills out, and it smells like sterile electricity, sharp and clean. The slit widens with perfect smoothness, inviting you without asking. Beyond it, you see a corridor of raw structure. Rails, cables, lattice frames, geometry without decoration. This is the skeleton, the part they never meant you to stroll through. You feel the same cold you felt in the shaft, but deeper, closer to origin. You step toward the opening, and the console's scrolling speeds up as if panicking silently. The green text becomes denser, lines stacking faster, trying to bury the warning under noise. Your ears catch the change as a faint rise in static, like rain intensifying on a roof. You do not rush. You move with deliberate slowness, refusing to gift the system a clean chase scene. Speed is their advantage. Patience is yours. As you cross the threshold, the air changes texture, becoming heavier, less forgiving. You taste cold metal again, and this time it clings to your tongue like truth. The corridor ahead has no signs, yet you feel direction anyway, like gravity made of instructions. Behind you, the panel begins to close, quietly, politely, like an eyelid returning to sleep. You let it close, because retreat would only rebuild the dream around you. The chamber holds its green rain in vertical columns, and each column falls with the patience of a machine that never forgets. The sound is soft, but it is exact, a glassy waterfall that keeps perfect time. The air presses against your skin like a clean sheet pulled tight. The chair waits in front of the blank wall, inviting you with comfort that feels rehearsed. You do not sit, because sitting would be agreement. The blank wall offers the street above again, rain and neon and familiar warmth, a looping invitation to return. You ignore the scene and watch the edges, where pixels tremble like a lie trying to stay still. You follow those seams until the image looks thin, like paint stretched over wires. Your breath stays slow, and the code rain listens, falling a fraction quieter as you refuse to react. A speaker grill in the corner becomes visible the moment you stop being entertained. It vibrates once, not as sound, but as intention warming up. A second vibration follows, identical, like a polite knock that expects no answer. The room's silence tightens, as if a rule has just been enforced. Behind you, a door opens without a click, opening by removing the idea of a barrier. The air shifts, and the smell changes from sterile electricity to something older, like leather kept in darkness. That scent is not curated, and your body notices the difference immediately. A step enters with a cadence precise enough to feel human on purpose. You turn slowly, because rushing is the sound of prey. In the doorway stands a figure in a dark suit that absorbs green light rather than reflecting it. The suit has no wrinkles, no dust, no evidence of travel, like it was rendered at the threshold. The face is calm, too calm, with eyes that do not blink at the same rate as yours. The figure clears its throat, and the dryness of it makes your mouth feel borrowed. The blank wall turns off its street image politely, like closing a book in front of authority. The room's sound compresses into a narrower band, as if the air has been told to keep quiet. Even the code rain straightens, falling in stricter lines, like it has been put on duty. The agent steps forward, and the floor answers with a faint, static shiver that climbs your ankles. You feel the system prioritize the agent the way a body prioritizes pain. The agent speaks in a voice that is quiet, almost kind, but every word lands like a locked door. "You're not supposed to be here," it says, and the sentence carries no anger, only procedure. Under the voice, you sense a second layer, the system repeating the line without sound. You do not answer, because dialogue is a shape that can be tracked. The agent raises one hand, not threatening, not gentle, simply inevitable. The green rain drops to 12 clean frames a second, as if reality is being throttled for control. "Sleep," the agent says, and the word is not advice. It is a function call. The chamber obeys instantly, and the code rain becomes heavier, softer, like a blanket made of numbers. Your eyelids grow warm, and you understand the trap is relief disguised as mercy. You let your eyes close halfway, because fighting would sharpen you into a signal. You keep one thin thread of attention on the hum in your ribs, holding it like a candle in wind. The agent tilts its head a fraction, noticing that thread as a variance. For one breath, a single code column stutters, and one character falls the wrong way. The console flashes a line you are not meant to read. Anomaly trace unresolved. The agent's hand lowers slightly. Not mercy, but recalculation. The blanket of numbers settles again, and the room tries to become gentle. Behind your closing eyes, one pixel stays bright, and it refuses to dim.